All right, welcome to episode number 48 of the Kevin Burke Project. And as always, I need your full cooperation and total attention because there are 5 things that I would like to mention. Let me start with Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor. You know the drill by now. Rachel was caught on camera, audio, basically saying Maria Taylor was a diversity hire, a token diversity hire. Read, she got the job because she's black, not because she's a woman, but because she's black. And you know, a lot of mixed reactions. I'll just say this before we get to Rachel's apology. I'll just say this: for the longest, I've said years ago, I said, man, Maria Taylor is really good at what she does. Smooth, the delivery, she is natural, she flows. And I've also always thought similarly, Rachel Nichols, from just a pure talent on camera perspective, I always thought she comes across as very read, very scripted, like she's reading from a teleprompter, because you know most times she is, but it never comes across as fluid or smooth. Even when she's sideline reporting, it's like she's scripted, like she's read. So me personally, this beef aside, or this whatever you want to call it aside, I think Maria Taylor is better at what she does than Rachel Nichols is at what she does. Both talented, I just think Maria Taylor is better than Rachel Nichols. And I felt this way for years, way before this whole, I don't know if you want to call it a scandal, whatever it is, popped off. So there's that. So the tape comes out, the audio comes out that Rachel Nichols, says that about Maria Taylor. A few days goes by, and then Rachel is hosting The Jump. And so the show starts with this apology that she gives.
So the first thing they teach you in journalism school is don't be the story. And I don't plan to break that rule today or distract from a fantastic finals. But I also don't want to let this moment pass without saying how much I respect, how much I value our colleagues here at ESPN, how deeply, deeply sorry I am for disappointing those I hurt, particularly Maria Taylor, and how grateful I am to be part of this outstanding team.
And I don't even necessarily think that's an apology. She addressed the situation. That's not necessarily, I think she said the word apologize or apology in there, but I didn't hear an apology in there. She addressed it, but I don't think she owned it like she should have, given the magnitude of what happened, a magnitude of what her words have caused. And then of course, since that, she was removed from the NBA Finals coverage team, replaced by, ironically, a black woman, Malika Andrews, as a sideline reporter. So there's that. But during her apology, I found it interesting that right after she, gave that apology, she was on set with Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson, and they spoke, they addressed it, they spoke glowingly, kind of somewhat glowingly of Rachel, and I think that ESPN put them in a bad spot. Like, now you're forcing Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson to react to this situation, even if they don't want to. I feel like they kind of, since they're on set that day on the show, they have to address it. Maybe they know Maria Taylor, maybe they like her, and they have to toe the line in the middle. But the thing about it is, I didn't hear this from Richard Jefferson or Kendrick Perkins. Now, whenever a celebrity, somebody in the spotlight, gets caught up in a scandal, people closest to them always have a tough time, understanding how this person could have done that, because they've known this person in the most genuine manner forever, for years, right? Pick any celebrity who's got in trouble, anyone. I don't even want to attach a name to it, right? If you ask somebody close to them, like a former coworker or a former co-star, a former, some former cast member, they always say, that's not the person I knew. I can't believe he or she did that. And that's the same thing with Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson. They know Rachel in the light of her being nice to them and genuine to them. So they don't have anything necessarily bad to say about her. But what I wanted to hear was either one of them or anybody who works with Rachel, if you want to say, that's not the Rachel I know, I don't know her in that light, that's fine. I would understand that, because again, you know her in a different capacity, you know her personally. But in the same token, in the same breath, I think it's okay if you say, That's not the Rachel I know, but I'm very disappointed to have heard that come out of her mouth. I just want to hear both, okay? You can still like her and still like her as a person, but still just come out and hold her to the fire, even if it's on set with her, even if it's on Twitter. I know you can't really talk about your coworkers, it's like an ESPN policy, right, on Twitter. But if you're being asked these things, I don't know, just be honest. Just be honest. I like her as a person. What she did, that was foul, and I'm disappointed that it came out in that way. That's it. Where it goes from here, I don't think she doesn't get fired. None of that. I think next year she'll be on more NBA coverage, and we'll move on. But now at least we know where she really stands. All right, switching gears. Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen has been on one lately. That's what the kids say these days, right? On one? Is that? Do people still say that? He has been. Scottie Pippen has been. Listen, he was a guest on the Dan Patrick Show the other day, and he was talking about. I'd never heard this from Scottie. He's got either a book coming out or a memoir coming out, and he also had an article in GQ magazine where he talks about the infamous playoff game in the 90s when Jordan was playing basketball. I think it was 94. End of the game, Phil Jackson calls up the play for Tony Kukoc, rookie Tony Kukoc. Scottie Pippen doesn't, he's offended by this, and he doesn't want to go in the game. You know the whole story by now. Kukoc hits the shot. The Bulls win that game over the Knicks. Scottie, I never heard this stance from him, this angle from him. He said Phil calling that play for Tony, that was racist. That was Scottie's words, not mine. Who am I to tell Scottie Pippen if Phil Jackson is really racist or not? I don't know Phil Jackson. I don't know. I just sat and watched him on TV for years. So I'm not gonna, whatever Scottie Pippen feels about anybody, I don't care. He can feel whatever he wants. I'm just like, how long have you felt this way? This came out for me, it came out of left field. And that whole interview with Dan Patrick, it was like, he was there because he's promoting his new bourbon. Scottie's got a new bourbon coming out. And I feel like during that whole thing, he was sipping that bourbon during the whole thing because he seemed a little loose to me. So Scottie lately, I think anything in his crosshairs, he even took some shots at Michael Jordan in that. But again, there's a book and a memoir and there's an article in GQ coming out. And Scottie just recently got into it with Kevin Durant. I like this Scottie though, man. He's been in the, I don't want to say shadows of Jordan all these years, but he's been for sure in the wings, and he's tired of it, man. So Scottie, do your thing. Let your hair loose. All right. The NCAA, they're saying that players can get paid for their name, image, and likeness. Is it me, or is this not like the third or fourth time that there has been some sort of like incremental progress towards this? I feel like every time they do this, like every other year, they say, there's some sort. They released a stranglehold on the inability of these players to get paid. I feel like this is the third or fourth installment. So I don't even want to rehash. Take a look at this video I dropped about a year ago where I talk about now. Okay, great. Now that you want to allow folks to get paid for name, image, and likeness. What about all of the people, particularly men, that had their reputations and image tarnished because they took money for their name, image, and likeness in the past? And they were forever labeled as like cheats. They were looked at as bad people because they did this. They violated like the cardinal rule of the NCAA is getting paid for your name, image, and likeness, right? People have got Heisman trophies taken away. Is Reggie Bush getting back his Heisman? Again, what about the people whose reputations were tarnished because they did what you are now allowing? How do they get their lives, their names, and in some cases their livelihood back? I just want to know the answer to that. NBA playoffs are still going on as I speak right now, and as you know, during this playoffs, there's been a lot of injuries, man. A lot of guys have gotten hurt, and LeBron came out a few weeks ago. He tweeted that, he thinks the season started too soon after the Lakers won, which it did. It was like 70-something days, right? Some kind of quick turnaround. They didn't have enough rest, and because of this short rest, this is why so many players have gotten hurt, he's saying. I don't know about all that because, one, not every team went to Orlando for the bubble at the end of 2020. 8 teams didn't go, 22 did go. Some teams didn't play from between March and December, okay? And some players on those teams got hurt. Secondly, like some of the injuries that we saw in the playoffs was so fluke. It was like no amount of rest would have prevented that. Like Devin Booker butting heads with Patrick Beverly breaking his nose. Like no amount of rest can prevent that. Kyrie Irving jumping to grab a rebound and landing on the side of Giannis's foot, rolling his ankle. No amount of rest could have prevented that. I forget who even rolled on LeBron's ankle during the regular season, and he was out for forever, for several weeks. No amount of rest would have hurt that. Giannis hyperextending his knee, getting tangled up in the air with Clint Capella. No amount of rest would have prevented that. A lot of those were fluke. Like it just. Those are like landing awkwardly to me, and no amount of rest would have prevented that. So I think like when LeBron says these things, I think it's very dangerous and it is extremely irresponsible because the NBA now has to respond. They have to be in a public battle with their biggest star about how soon they put players back on the floor. But the alternative would have been what? A much shorter regular season that went into the Olympics. The NBA did what they had to do in terms of when they started the season. Largely, the injuries, again, were fluke. I think just not at all related to rest or lack thereof. Were some of them caused by that? Sure. Like James Harden, he had the tight ankle, the tight hamstring rather in the playoffs. Yeah, you can maybe attribute it to that, but largely, I don't think it had anything to do with that. All right, lastly, the Olympics. There's a whole lot going on with the Olympics, man. A whole lot going on. You got the whole Sha'Carri Richardson thing. Her being suspended for 30 days for what she did, and she's owning it. So I'm not even. She's owned it. She knew that she should not have done that. She did it, and she knew the consequences of it, and she was caught, and she's owning up to it. I'm not here to judge her. Her mother just passed, and she said she did it to cope. Fine, whatever, do your thing. I would have judged her if she did not own up to it, but she did own up to it. Then she was left off the relay team, and I don't know how to even respond to that because the people that made the team over her are probably they're some of the fastest women who've ever lived. I don't know if any of them. I don't know. I just don't know if they're if like who you replaced to put her back. I don't know enough about the team. I'll just say her not being in the playoffs is a blow from like a global appeal because she was the darling of the women's Olympic team. So it's gonna be bad that she's not there because I really wanted to see her see her run. I do also think it's gonna be interesting. You're gonna see a lot of players taking a stance. They're gonna see when the national anthem plays for the U.S., you're going to see a lot of players, a lot of athletes taking a knee. And I want to see how the people who make the decision for the U.S. Olympic Committee, how they respond to their athletes that they sent to Tokyo taking a knee. I just want to observe. I'm just here to watch to see what happens. And lastly, Japan, where the Olympics are happening, is in a state of emergency for COVID-19. A state of emergency for the Olympics. They're going to have the Olympics with no fans. I'm just saying, this is going to be, it's going to be a crazy Olympics, and man, no Sha'Carri, no fans, and people taking a knee. Get your popcorn ready.